Scissors changed the world, but it took people thousands of years to realize it. Hi everyone. Welcome to my channel. Scissors are one of the most important tools in the world. They cut our hair, mend our clothes, help us craft and create, and we even use them in surgery. But despite how useful they are, their history is full of confusion and contradictions. Despite having been around for over 5,000 years, there are still many things we don't know about scissors. And what we do know has been muddied by mythology, folklore, and propaganda. For example, we don't actually know who invented scissors or where. We also don't know why Bronze Age people bothered to create these strange tools. And though we have some idea of how ancient scissors were used, we aren't sure how that translated into the modern tool that we all know today. What we do know is that Bronze Age humans crafted some very interesting tools. People living in what is now Turkey around 7500 BC created bronze shears with long handles and short blades used for cutting sheep and goats. Around the same time in what is now Iran, another group of humans created bronze shears with short handles and long blades. These were more like sickles than modern scissors. From here, the technology spread to Mesopotamia and then Egypt. In Egypt, scissors were made from both bronze and iron, and they were primarily used for cosmetic purposes. Evidence suggests that Egyptians used scissors to remove unwanted facial hair and shape the beards of both men and women. The first written evidence of this comes from a series of love poems known as the Song of Solomon, which date back to around 1000 BC. There's also an Egyptian carving depicting a man using scissors to shave his beard. And coins minted between 664 and 332 BC depict men trimming their beards and eyebrows. The Egyptians weren't the only ones using scissors for cosmetics. Thousands of miles away in what is now Greece, a similar trend was emerging. Marble sculpture of Aphrodite that dates back to around 500 BC depicts her with scissors in hand. There's also an ancient Greek vase painting that shows a man cutting his beard, and a mosaic found in the ruins of the Roman city of Pompeii shows a barber trimming a customer's beard. Though many of these depictions show barbers using straight razors, some show them holding curved blades, which might indicate that they were using scissors. As for who was using these early scissors, it seems that they were reserved for the wealthy elite. Like many other grooming tools, they were too expensive for the average person, so they remained a symbol of wealth and power. This is evident in ancient Egyptian tombs where you often find scissors buried alongside other expensive goods. For example, a pair of female bronze scissors was found buried with the 18th dynasty royal butler Reckmeyer. It wasn't until the Middle Ages that scissors became more commonplace. One theory suggests that scissors arrived in Europe with the returning Crusaders, while another theory says they came via Spain when Muslim scholars transmitted their knowledge of the tool to European scientists. Unfortunately, there's no way to confirm either of these theories. However, we do know that throughout the Middle Ages, scissors were still considered a luxury good. As a result, they were often depicted as a symbol of wealth and power. Just as they had been in ancient Egypt, scissors were often made of silver, gold, or other precious metals. They were also highly ornamented and sometimes even featured gemstones. But during the Middle Ages, not everyone saw scissors as a positive thing. Some Christians viewed them as the work of the devil. After all, they were associated with paganism and witchcraft. In fact, scissors were often banned in Christian countries, especially during Lent, a period of fasting and penance that took place before Easter. Many Christians believed that using scissors during Lent was a form of vanity, and it went against the spirit of the holiday. So if you wanted to get a haircut during Lent, you had to sneak around and find a barber who was willing to break the rules. But despite the controversy, scissors continued to be used throughout the Middle Ages, and eventually they became commonplace. By the 15th century, scissors were being mass-produced and sold to the general public. They were no longer a luxury good. They were an everyday item. It was around this time that the saying, "a stitch in time saves 9" became popular. Originally, the saying was spelled out as "a stitch in time, hold your hand." And it was a warning for tailors to stop sewing as soon as they saw a hole developing in the fabric. If they continued sewing after finding the hole would grow larger, and eventually the entire garment would need to be thrown away. But if they fixed the hole as soon as it appeared, they could save themselves a lot of time and effort. Eventually, the saying evolved to become a proverb, meaning that it's always best to deal with problems as soon as they arise. and the illustration that accompanied the saying often featured a woman using a pair of scissors to fix a hole in a piece of fabric. As the saying spread throughout Europe, the image became synonymous with the idea of dealing with problems before they grew too big to handle. By the 19th century, scissors were firmly established as a common household item. But at this point, they still didn't have the sharp blades that we're used to today. Instead, they featured a pair of dull blades that needed to be drawn together using a lot of force. This made them difficult to use, especially for delicate tasks such as trimming hair. That all changed with the invention of sharp blades. Suddenly, scissors were much easier to use, and they became even more popular. The inventor of the sharp blade is unknown, but it's believed to have occurred sometime during the 19th century in either England or Germany. Sharp blades allowed for more precise cuts, making them ideal for tasks such as cutting hair. They were also less likely to tear or rip materials, making them even more versatile. The invention of the sharp blade was a major breakthrough for the scissor industry. It allowed for the mass production of high-quality scissors that could be used for a variety of tasks. This led to the creation of some of the most famous scissor brands in the world, such as Ginger, which was founded in 1861. Today, there are all kinds of different types of scissors designed for specific uses. Fabric scissors, which are typically larger and have longer handles for cutting through multiple layers of material. Hairdressing scissors, which are smaller and more precise for cutting hair. And kitchen shears, which are often serrated for cutting through bones and other tough materials. There's even a special type of scissors called pinking shears, which feature a zigzag blade that prevents the material from fraying. One of the most interesting types of scissors is the invention of Charles Gibbs, an English tailor who invented the bent-handle scissor in 1844. This simple change made a huge difference in how scissors worked, making them more comfortable to use for extended periods of time. The bent-handle design is now the most common type of scissor handle, but it wasn't always that way. For example, seamstresses who worked with very thick fabrics often preferred straight-handle scissors because they provided more leverage. When cutting through multiple layers of material, another interesting innovation in the world of scissors came in the early 20th century, when Japanese scissor maker Kikuyo Morinaka developed a new type of blade that featured an ultra-sharp edge that was also incredibly durable. This made his scissors ideal for cutting paper and fabric, and they quickly became very popular among craftspeople. Today, Morinaka's descendants continue to manufacture scissors under the Kai brand name Wu, and they remain some of the most respected scissors in the world. Over the past few decades, scissors have gone from being a simple tool used for cutting to being an iconic symbol of creativity and self-expression. They've been featured in everything from books and movies to paintings and sculptures, and they continue to be a popular motif in contemporary art. For example, in 2015, British artist and designer Tom Lane created a series of sculptures that depicted scissors in a variety of poses. The sculptures were made from a variety of materials, including bronze, steel, and aluminum, and they explored the idea of scissors as both a tool and a symbol. So the next time you reach for a pair of scissors, take a moment to appreciate their long and complicated history. Who invented scissors? How did they evolve over time? What do they say about our culture and society? We may never have all the answers, but that does unstop us from appreciating the impact that these simple tools have had on our world. So what do you think? Did you learn anything new about scissors? And how do you feel about their complicated history? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Till next time.